Hello, my friends, and happy Thursday. I hope you're having a wonderful day. We're having a great day, except for starting the video. Facebook was just a little problematic this time, but I'm hoping you can see me. I'm hoping you can hear me because I have a super fun project for you. We are going to be making gemstone brooches, just like you wanted. You guys asked for these. Remember when we made a beaded brooch or pin with beads? And this time we are going to be using gemstone donuts. And I have some really fun tricks and techniques today for you. So please let me know. Can you hear me? Can you see me? I certainly hope I'm not talking to myself. Just let me know in the comments.
Fonda says, good evening, everyone. Happy Thursday.
Oh, hi, Fonda. Happy Thursday. Thank goodness we are live, because Tony wasn't sure if Facebook actually did let us in. So, yay, you can see me. And I can hear back from you, and that makes my day. Okay, ladies, so this is what we're doing today. We have 3 different sets of brooches for you, and each one has 2 donuts. And so I'll show you what goes with what. So pretty much, this is what I did. I included a smaller donut and a larger donut in each set, and they're all different. And, well, not just the sets, but even the donuts themselves are going to be unique because, of course, they're created by nature. So, each donut is unique. It has its own unique pattern and texture, color. So we will explore all of that today.
Fonda, Trudy, Ellen, Jeline, they all say, we can see you and hear you.
Yay! And hello, ladies. I'm so glad you joined us.
Barb says, good evening, all. I'm early for once.
Hi, Barb. Good evening.
Allison says, love these.
Thank you so much, Allison.
Jeline says, hello.
Hi, Jeline. Well, my friends, I'm so glad you can see me and hear me. I am just so happy right now because it was just really touch and go today. Okay, ladies, so I have 3 super fun sets of donuts, or actually kits for you. And so this is the first one. And so the large donut is carnelian, and the smaller one is arfetzonite, which is kind of a very unusual stone. And I'll show you all of them, and then we will promptly get started.
Althea says, hi, all.
Hi, Althea. And in the next sets, we have our little teeny tiny carnelian donut. Love this little teeny one. And a moss agate one, which is also very beautiful. And finally, in the last kit, we have cloud quartz donut, which is technically, I don't know, is it a donut? It's kind of an octagon. But it is still a donut because it does have a hole. This is what it looks like before it becomes a brooch, which actually, this is a really good way to see just how unique some of these can be. You can see that there's so much more of that white quartz in this one. I mean, they're all beautiful. And that one I paired with the smaller jade donut. And the jade donuts are going to have a little bit of carving, and they are all slightly different. So the carving is absolutely gorgeous on all of them, but I don't know if you can see they're different patterns. They're actually hand carved. I so wish I could get more of these. These are hand carved. They're absolutely stunning. And that is all for all 3 kits. So I think we're pretty much ready to get started now.
Jeline says, I love carnelian.
Yay, Jeline, me too. I love carnelian. It is so vibrant. And it's kind of amazing that nature can create something like this.
Pammy J says, good evening, everyone.
Good evening, Pammy J.
Fonda says, I love that teeny tiny carnelian.
Yay, thanks, Fonda. Well, guess what? It is the teeny tiny carnelian that I'm going to start with. That one, I do have a strategy here because the teeny tiny carnelian is probably going to be, not that any of these are difficult to make, they're all incredibly simple to make, but this one has the least components of all. So I will demo on the carnelian donut, and then we'll move on, and I'll probably do at least one more full demo. And then towards the end, I have a super fun little surprise for you. So I'll do like maybe a partial demo. Okay, ladies, so what I have in front of me is 20 gauge wire. And I know some of you purchased this kit. It actually has more in it, but this represents the first set of brooches. So if you remember, I used 18 gauge wire, and I do really like 18 gauge wire for most of these. However, when you have a little teeny baby donut that is so diminutive, 18 gauge wire not only would kind of overwhelm the donut itself, but also structurally it would not fit into that opening. So I'm going with 20 gauge wire, and that is what you're going to get in your kit. So as you know, you can upsize these, you can downsize these, and I did find a ruler. Actually, I'm always misplacing my rulers. So we're going to start roughly 5 inches from one end. And what I'm going to do, so I'm just going to bend this. Just bend it a little bit so that we know where the 5 inches are. Okay, so this is our 20 gauge wire. And we are simply going to string our teeny little flower button, which goes inside the donut hole. So as you can see, I just kind of pinch the wire with my hands, just like that. And it's actually the button that is, that makes it possible for us to do something like this. It just makes it easy. I'm sure you could do it a different way, but the button seems to be perfect. So as you can see, I'm stringing the donut over both sides of the wire. And in fact, I'm actually going to bring it a little closer yet because that opening is not very large. And our goal is to, oh, you know what? I just learned something. We are going to have to make sure that all of the holes are large enough for this project. And this one seems to be just a little tiny. Okay, plan B. I am going to ask Tony to get me a different donut. And he's going to look at the holes, and don't worry, the kits have not actually been packed yet. When you guys get our kits, they get packed after the video. So Bonnie starts packing them Friday morning. And so tomorrow when she comes in, I'm sure we will we'll just ask her to check all of the openings in our little carnelian donuts. And you know, it never even occurred to me that it could be a slightly different size, but no worries. So in the meantime, I am just going to show you what is happening in the back of the carnelian donut. And as you can see, the wire goes through the shank. And this is going to be true for all of our brooches, except when we make some of the other styles of brooches, or not even so much styles of brooches, but when we use some of the other donuts, what you will find is that the size of the opening in the donut will vary. So sometimes we just need to play these little reindeer games and fill the opening in the donut. So the easiest one to start with is the carnelian, because of course that one is such a small opening, and Tony's back, yay. He brought me a couple of, and of course, you know, of course I had to grab one that does not have a larger hole. And look at this, these have perfect size holes. So yay, we can continue with the project. All right, so now, somehow I think I took my little button off the shank. Let's put it back on. And we are just sliding this right to that same spot where we have, I call this the U-turn in the wire. So you can see my U-turn. And now we're going to have an instant replay, and this time it is going to work. So this is take 2, ladies. And look at this. That little flower, the button fits so perfectly into the opening in the donut. So you can see a little bit of the shank. So this is what you're going to be seeing. And in some ways, this is actually a little easier almost than making a beaded pin like this, because this is our second step. We are going to just take our wire, both ends, and we're going to straighten it as close to the donut as we can. So at this point, look at this. If I try to move the donut, it is going nowhere, because the shank is such a good fit for the opening in the donut.
Fonda is wondering if there's a front and back side to the donuts.
Oh, that's a good question. It's whichever side you like best, Fonda. That is the front, and the other side is obviously the back. So you can see they're pretty much the same, at least shape-wise. They're the same on both sides. And let's look at this one just for fun. Well, I think it's a bit more dramatic on this side. What do you think? So you just pick your favorite and make that the front. Okay, ladies, so once you have straightened the wire, again, we have already established that at this point, the donut is not going to move. So we start building our pin. And because the donut is so diminutive in this pin, I think it's kind of fun to make a few little zigzags. So let's do that. So we'll just take our round nose pliers and go up and maybe go in the opposite direction. And I think I like my zigzags pretty tight on this one. So I'm just going to push it as tight as I can. And you can vary the size of the zigzags if you want to. Okay, so what do you think? I think that's maybe enough of a zigzag on this side, and you can make more, or you don't have to make more. It's really up to you. And we are going to do the same thing on the other side. And since I went up on the first side, I'll go down on this side, and we'll see how we like it. So you can really vary your zigzags, or you can try to keep them the same, whatever works for you. Okay, so I think I'm pretty happy with this look. What do you guys think? This is fun, right? Okay, so this side of our pin is going to be the actual pin. And then this side, actually no, since I left a little more room on this side, I'm going to make this this the pin. And so what I'm going to do is, okay, I just confused myself just a little, not a whole lot. So what I think I'm going to do is actually make this side the pin. What do you think? And to make the pin, we are going to use our round nose pliers.
Kim K says, Happy Thursday, everyone.
Thank you so much, Kim. It's been a good Thursday so far, and happy Thursday to you, everyone who's watching. I'm hoping that you're having a wonderful Thursday. Okay, ladies, so can you see I'm starting to make a little loop? And this is just a little round loop. Let me show you. And this is the start of our spiral. And it's the spiral that is going to become our pin. So let's continue making our spiral. And once you have a full loop, and maybe you have started a little bit of a loop on the outside of it, it's a lot easier to just hold on to it with your chain nose and guide the wire with your hand. Something like this. Sometimes I'll push with my fingers. Sometimes I will guide the wire just like this. So we are making a nice wide spiral. And it's not quite round.
Lori says, good evening, Irina and Tony.
Hi, Lori. Good evening, and thank you for joining us.
Betty says, I got my donut today. Thank you so much.
Oh,
Yay.
fantastic. Yay. So glad you got it. So, as you can see, it's not quite round. So what I usually do is I course correct a little bit if I'm not quite happy with the shape of this spiral. And sometimes I will embrace the organic nature of it, which in fact, I think I'm kind of liking the shape of this. But if you don't like the shape, you can always use your chain nose, and wherever it's a little pointy, if we squeeze it ever so gently, it will just become rounded. So you can see how it's getting rounded because I am squeezing it with the chain nose pliers. And so we want to end up with this wire fairly, oh, wrong tool. I meant to pick up the flat nose pliers. So we want to end up with this wire fairly close to the donut. So maybe I will guide it a little further down. Okay, something like that. And then the shorter side of the wire, the shorter end of the wire, is going to become part of the mechanism that holds the pin. So something like this. And we're going to decide if we want more zigzags at this point, or if we want to just create this spiral. And I think I do, you know, I keep going back and forth between, yes, I want maybe another zigzag, or I like asymmetry. And right now I'm leaning a little more towards the, let's make another zigzag and make it a little bit more dramatic. So I'm going to end the wire, or rather end the zigzags, with this wire going up towards the longer wire. And now we're going to decide just how large do we want to have this spiral. So most of my spirals, like this one, is probably only 2 inches. And I always give myself a little bit room, a little bit more room to, you know, to work with the wire kind of in the moment. So I generally allow for a little more wire than I'm actually going to need. So for this one, all I want is about 2 inches, maybe 2 1/4. It's kind of a smaller piece and we don't want it super, super large. So I will start making a loop. And once I have a full loop like that, I am just going to cut the excess wire off. And maybe we'll give that little loop a little squeeze, just to make it a little smaller. And with the spiral being made at the end of the wire as opposed to kind of in the middle of the wire, it's a lot easier actually, because at this point, what we're going to do is use our flat nose pliers, and as you can see, I am starting the spiral, and it's kind of snug at this point. It's nice and tight, but eventually I have to open it up. In order for it to work as part of our brooch mechanism, we need to leave a little negative space so that we can actually use the spiral as part of our pin. And sometimes I rock it back and forth like this because I have a lot more control this way. So again, if I wanted to round this out, I could, but I actually really like the shape of this. This is very organic looking. I like it a lot. I think I would like it a little better if I squeeze these little zigzags together. I think that looks nice. Okay, and now we can actually pin it. We can already pin it. It's just about done. So just using my hands, I'm going to reshape the pin part. And now we're going to determine the length of our pin. So I like it about 1/4 inch past the spiral. And as you can see, I am going to cut it at a very sharp angle. So if you cut it at this very dramatic angle, right there, we get what looks like a nice sharp pin. But of course, right now, it's a little too sharp. It's a little too rough. So I have some sandpaper, as will you when you get your kits. And we are just going to open it up a little bit and just use your sandpaper. And I know it's very It's not a pleasant sound, so I'm not going to do it, but just please know it will take a few more seconds. It probably takes me 15-20 seconds, and I go all the way around and make it nice and pointy without making it super sharp. So you don't want it very, very sharp because you don't want the weapon, of course. And the way to avoid it is once you have sharpened your pin, you're just going to hold the wire just like this, perpendicular to the sandpaper, and sand it very, very gently. And that's it. That is all there is to making this pin. So I hope you found it really, really simple. So now let's explore a few more. And let's see. I am actually planning to show you quite a few. So let me grab another piece of wire. And we will essentially do exactly the same thing. So we're going to measure about 5 inches from the end. And we're going to make a pretty sharp bend in the wire. And this time I'm using the heavier wire. I'm using the 18 gauge wire. And we are going to, you know what, I really like this carnelian one, so let's do that. So I'm going to, you know, what I love about this button is that it has this beautiful turquoise patina over copper, and I think that just interacts so nicely with the carnelian. And I think it's a carnelian day for me today. And I'm going to do the same exact thing. I'm going to put the button into that bend. Then we are going to put both ends of the wire through the opening in the donut. And you can see that the opening in the donut is really, really large, which is why I picked this one to demo on.
Lori says these are beautiful.
Thank you so much, Lori.
Pammy J has a good question. Do you have to harden the arm of the sharp part?
You do not have to, because the wire I'm using is actually half hard. That's a great question. Thank you so much for asking. So we don't have to. However, if you have a bench block, if you have a chasing hammer and you want to make it a little harder yet, you can. But that's why I chose to use the half hard wire, because you actually do not have to do that. Okay, ladies, so let's look at the back of this piece. And there's quite a bit going on here. So the goal is to fill the hole in the donut. And so because of that, we are going to use these large twisted rings. And as you can see, it just kind of falls through the donut, and there are 3 of these rings. And we're going to string all of the rings onto the wire. And as you can see, there's still quite a bit of movement. And the reason there's so much movement is because there's still such a large opening between the shank and the twisted rings. So, in fact, we have 3 more rings to put on the inside of the large twisted rings. So what I did in order to figure out all of these pins is I actually played with a variety of rings. Some of the rings are larger, some of the rings are smaller. It doesn't really matter whether they're twisted. It's really more about the size and shape. So the goal, of course, is to fill that opening so there's not quite that much movement.
Lori says, do you sell half hard wire?
Yes, Lori, we do. Okay, ladies. So at this point, as you can see, I have filled the opening, and there's still going to be a little bit of movement until I bend the wire down, but not a whole lot. So once we bend the wire down, look at this. Nothing is moving. Well, I mean, there's just very, very minimal. I'm kind of forcing it a little bit. But once you put it on, there's no movement of the donut on the wire.
Betty says, I'm going to make several colors of these pins to close my cozy sweaters with.
Oh, yay! You know what? These are perfect for sweaters. Okay, so before I do the second demo, what I would love to do is actually show you every one of these pins so that you can see how everything stacks up. So now we remember for the carnelian one, we have 3 of the large rings, and then we have 3 of the smaller rings. And I'm actually going to leave the carnelian right here, just to remind you, since these videos are also the directions for the kit, I think it's nice to have a visual here. So then, in the same kit, we also have this beautiful arfvedsonite donut. And arfvedsonite, it's not a very common stone. It's related to numite. It's really so pretty. I think it's also related to labradorite. So I hope you can see these almost like iridescent, feathery textures. It's very, very pretty.
Althea says, love them.
Yay! Thank you so much, Althea. Actually, you know what? You will have 4 of these little rings in your kit so that you can try it either with 3 or 4, because the donuts will vary slightly. And if you have a slightly thicker donut, you're going to want to use 3 of the smaller ring. I hope that made sense. Okay, ladies. So the next one in this set is the arfvedsonite donut. And for the arfvedsonite donut, again, we start in the very same way, where we bend our 18 gauge wire. We string our button onto the wire until it drops into that little U-turn. Now we're going to go through the donut with both ends, just like that. You can see that it almost fits. It almost doesn't even need anything, but there's a little bit of movement. Of course, this is going to be minimized once we bend the wire down, but I decided that maybe it's a really good idea to use these dainty little jump rings. And so we're going to string all 3, and there are only 3 jump rings for this donut, and we're going to string all 3 of them, and that is going to stabilize our donut, and it's going to make it sit really nicely without a whole lot of movement on the wire. So you can see it's already getting stabilized.
Pammy J says, I'm so amazed how you repurpose those buttons in such a creative way.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you. You know what? I love to engineer these things. It's like when I see something that I want to make and it's not quite the right fit, my brain just goes to, but wait a minute, how can we make it the right fit? So do you remember last Friday when I showed you all the various sizes of decorative rings? Those will come in so handy when doing this. Okay, so now can you guys see that it is already such a better fit? So that's what we're going to do for the arfetanite donut. Okay, let's do a little further exploring. I am going to take these rings off. You know, it's such a nice fit, they don't even want to come off. But we need to move on to the next one. So for the arfetanite donut, all we need are just 3 of those 6mm rings, and that's it. Let me move some of these so that we have more room. Okay, moving right along. We have the set. Well, you know what? Now I kind of lost track of what goes with this one. I don't know which other donut goes with this one, but I do know which rings. So this is a different set of rings yet. So these rings, they're meant to be decorative rings, and they are over, what did I call them? They're sort of overlapping. It almost looks as if it's supposed to be chainmail. So we are going, oh, wait a minute, you know what? Maybe I did figure it out. Is it the arfetanite that goes, no, I don't know what goes with what, but you know, when you look at the Etsy shop, I'm sure you will figure out what goes with what, because it's all pictured, so I don't have to figure it out. Okay, ladies, so this one is fairly simple because the opening is not humongous. So all we are going to do is just string our button onto the wire. Again, the same 5 inches from the end. And now we put our moss agate donut on here, and you can see it just kind of wants to slide around a little bit. And we don't want to have it slide around, so we are going to put our decorative rings right over both ends of the wire, and there are 3 of these rings. And you are going to have to experiment just a little bit, because again, these are hand cut, and it's quite possible that you only need 1 ring or 2 rings. I think for this one, I might only need 2 rings. And here we go. That stabilizes it perfectly. But again, some of these are going to be a little bit thicker, so we are including that 3rd ring so that you can really make it work.
Julie says hi.
Hi, Julie, and thank you for joining us. Okay, ladies, moving right along to the next one. So for the moss agate, we need those overlapping decorative rings. And the next one, we are going to look at our cloud quartz donut. And for that one, we need some twisted rings. So this is the size ring that we have for the cloud quartz. And we have our lovely tree button. Love that one. And again, it always starts out in exactly the same way. So we're just going to let our button drop down. We're going to put our donut over both sides of the wire. And finally, we're going to string our decorative rings. And they're just going to drop right down into the opening. And that's it. Actually, no, that is not it. We have a few more. We have 3 more. And those 3 are going to go inside the decorative rings. So let's do that right now. And there we go. So we're just going to push those down as we bend the wire. Okay, there's one more that is going to be just a little different. Oh, and by the way, if you want to see a demo on any one of these, you let me know which one, and I will demo that one. And I still have an extra little demo, which is kind of like almost a little bonus project. And I'll save that for the very, very end. Okay, ladies, so we have one more donut, and that is the beautiful little jade donut, the one that is carved. Okay, ta-da. So these are the rings we're going to need for the cloud quartz. And we'll put the button with it so that we know which button goes with it. Okay, ladies, so when you make the piece with the carved jade, it's going to be just a tiny bit different. So it starts out by dropping the button down into our bend. So that's the same. But now we are going to put the donut on, and the shank goes through the opening. In fact, it's a really, really good fit. However, we still need a little extra ring. And the reason we need a little extra ring for this one is not to customize the fit, but actually to prevent the shank from poking out. Because I don't know if you can see, it's actually poking out by maybe 1 millimeter to 2 millimeters. And so what I found is that once I bend the wire down, it just slides on the wire. It does not stay in place. So to remedy this, we have just one single ring. And this ring goes over both sides of the wire, and it stabilizes our donut. So now, well, you know what? Maybe I'll just do the next demo on this one. What do you guys think about that? Yeah, let's do that. Okay, so you'll see what I'm talking about in just a moment. So once we bend the wire down, this stays in place really beautifully. You can see I'm trying to move it. It doesn't move. And that is only because we have that additional ring over the shank. If you forget the ring, this is going to move back and forth. It's just not going to make a good finished piece. Okay, so let's do this one more time, just really quickly. So we're going to start out by making a little spiral, or actually by making a loop. And now we are going to hold on to our loop with our chain nose pliers. And I am simply guiding the wire around that first loop. So we're creating a spiral. It doesn't have to be perfectly round, but if you like it perfectly round, you can always tweak it a little bit with your chain nose pliers. So that's a nice little spiral. I like that one. And now you remember, this is actually, you know, I will say this is exactly the same technique for all of them. So the only thing that will vary is what you put on the back of your pin. So what you put on the back of your pin is really very, very intuitive. It's whatever is going to either fill the opening around the shank, or in the case of our jade donut, it's just to stabilize the donut so that it does not slide along the wire. That's all. But the technique is exactly the same. So at this point, I am going to, you know, this is way too much wire. I think I'm going to cut off a little wire just so that it's easier for me to work. And so at this point, I'm going to decide just how much wire I'm going to need for my spiral. And of course, when you're working with some of the larger donuts, you're going to want to leave a little bit more wire on this side because maybe you just want to make a much larger spiral. So sometimes for the more dramatic ones, I might just start out with 3 inches. And the smaller ones, I might start out with 2 inches. So this is obviously a much smaller donut. So I am starting out with 2 inches. So once you make that loop at the end of what is going to be our spiral, we're going to cut off the excess wire. We don't need it anymore. And then using the flat nose pliers, we're going to hold on to it and just push with our finger as we create the spiral. And as the spiral gets larger, that is when I start just kind of rocking it with my flat nose pliers, because it really is so helpful just so that we can control the wire and make it do what we want.
Lori says, I love the tiny donut. You make everything so beautiful, Irina.
Well, thank you so much, Lori. Okay, ladies, so that's it. Now we can just pin our brooch. There we go. And there's only two things are left. We're going to cut off the excess wire, and we're going to attempt to cut it to a point. And then, of course, we're going to use sandpaper to sharpen that little end. So that's it. It's just that easy. It's really so easy, you guys. And there it is. So you remember for this one, we just need that little, it's kind of a chunky little decorative ring, and it fills that gap beautifully. And so now I have an extra little demo for you.
Betty says a dainty donut.
Yes, it is very dainty, isn't it? So before I do the bonus round, do you guys have any questions about this or about anything at all? So tomorrow, this is a bit of a preview for tomorrow. So tomorrow I'm going to be showing you a whole extravaganza of donuts and also buttons. And this, of course, because you guys always express an interest in creating your own. So I was running around the store frantically looking for different buttons, and I love these buttons. I have used them in a project, but not this type of a project. And mostly, you know, when I make this type of a pin, and I have made those before, I've been making them for years. So mostly when I make this type of a pin, I use a button with a shank, and it's always made out of metal because, of course, we use wire and we bend wire with the shank, with the wire going through the shank. So you want something nice and sturdy. And until actually this week, I have never made a pin with a button that has no shank. And as I was getting ready for tomorrow's video and I was gathering all my fun little buttons, I thought, wait a minute, I bet this button could be, and you know what, did I grab a button? I think I forgot to grab a button.
It's right there.
Oh, no, I didn't forget to. Yay! You know, it's been that kind of a day. You know, I'm misplacing things, I'm forgetting things. I'm misplacing the button right in front of me. So I'm sure everybody has days like that sometimes. So I love these buttons, and I thought, can I use this to make a pin? And as it turns out, I can. So let me show you. There's a little secret to this button. This is a really fun little button. It's kind of a little bit of like rustic meets world beat. It's really fun. So I thought, since I'm doing the video tomorrow, let me show you how to use a button like this. So here, this is the secret. This is not a shank. Of course, this is the type of button that gets sewn on if we were to sew. It gets sewn on through the holes like we're used to, right? So in fact, this should really be the front of it. However, if we flip it over, this little, I don't know, what do we call this little, I don't know, bump? Do we want to call it a bump? Give me a good name for it.
Doodad.
A doodad. Tony wants to call it a doodad. Do we have a more descriptive name? Somebody give me a more descriptive name. Okay, so in the meantime, so the little doodad fits very nicely into the opening in our donut. I need to name you guys. Name the doodad.
Kathy K says stem and Fonda says knob.
You know what? I love stem. I love it because it's like a flower. Love it. Okay, we're saying stem from
Peg,
now on.
nub. Kathy G says peg and Kim K says nub.
You know what? They're all good terms, but I think we have just committed to stem.
Betty says nubbin. You have to use them all.
Nubbin. Or niblet. I don't know. I don't know. Let's just commit to stem for today. And I'm sure next time we do this, I'll be using a different name. It's okay. This is all very fluid. Okay, so because of the little stem, we actually can fit the button inside the hole of the donut. How cool is that? So I'm not going to do a full demo, but I will do enough of a demo where you know exactly how to create with it. So I sat down actually today and played around with this, and you can see I made it work. And this is what I found out. So this is just a little wire remnant because I'm not going to do a full demo. But just imagine I'm bending the wire 5 inches from the end, just like we did with all the other ones. I'm just going to use this little remnant. Except for this button, we are not going to simply bend it, because normally I just bend it like this and that's it, done, right? But we're not going to do it for this button. We are going to use our chain nose pliers. We're going to hold it with the chain nose pliers, and we are going to bend on either side of the chain nose pliers, making kind of like a squared little U-turn. So it's a bit wider and it's a bit more square. So the idea, of course, is that this pretty much fits the spacing of the holes. And because the holes are so large, I found that, and let's just do this experimentally so that you can see what I'm talking about. So if I put my wire through the holes and then inside the donut, and certainly we could make it exactly just like this. However, there's just a little wobble here, and I am not a fan of that. So what I did, and here, let me hold this up to the camera so that you can see that I have a little coiled wire, and for whatever reason, I like that two-tone look. It just adds a little something. So I am going to use a 24 gauge copper wire, and we'll just do this very quickly. And maybe I'll just be a little sloppy this time because it's not, I'm not actually finishing this piece. It's not like a full demo. So I just want to show you enough where, should you want to try it, you know exactly how I did it. So I'm just going to do this a little sloppy so that it's quick. And sometimes sloppy is fun too, Sloppy is organic. And so I am just coiling my copper wire. This happens to be 24 gauge. On this sample, I used 26 gauge, so 26 gauge will work as well. And this side is done. And now we'll just do a little bit more on the other side. So what I'm doing is, in addition to adding a decorative element, I am also influencing how this is going to fit into the button. So the idea, of course, is to fill the holes in the button a little more so that there's not quite so much movement. So once I coil, so I'm coiling on top and also maybe 3 to 4 millimeters down each side. And now I am just tightening and pinching the wire so that those little ends are not sticking out. And it got a little spread out as I was working on it. So I bent it back into its original shape. So you guys can see that. And now we're going to put it through the holes in the button. And we'll see just how well it fits.
Trudy says, will you have gold-colored or brass-colored buttons along with silver?
I do. Actually, I do indeed. I have some pick your own buttons, and then I have some other little button collections. So I do have some really fun buttons for tomorrow.
Kathy K says, genius.
Oh, thank you, Kathy. Hardly genius, but it works. So that's it. That's how you do it. That's how you make it work. So just for fun, clearly I didn't grab enough wire to make a full pin, but just so that you can see how well it works, check it out. It does not move at all. It's only the whole thing that's moving. So the donut is not at all moving along the wire. And just for fun, let's flip it over so you can see what it looks like on the back.
Trudy says, great, thanks.
Thank you so much, Trudy. So just so we are all on the same page, this is not part of the kit. We don't have a kit with this button because literally I just made the sample today. And I just thought it was super fun, but I will be featuring these buttons tomorrow during our shopping event. And so I hope you join me for that.
Lori says, I love this button.
Oh, yay. Thank you so much, Lori. It is such a fun button. It's a little rustic. It's a little boho. It's a little ethnic. It's just like all the fun things that I love. Okay, ladies. And so for our preview of what's coming up. So tomorrow I have a fun little collection of donuts to show you. So this is during our live shopping event. We're going to have an entire Gemstone donut extravaganza. Also, I'm going to have some summer themed strands and components. And of course, more. There's so many surprises all the time. And I have some really fun surprises for you, something that you've been asking me for a long time. So that's going to be really, really fun. But wait, there's more. I have something else to show you. And this is the Kaleidoscope wrap. And this is my preview for next week's tutorial. So this is going to be Thursday, May 23rd at 7 p.m. Central Standard Time on my jewelry design page. And this is what it looks like. It's a wrap bracelet. And you guys have been asking me to do another one, so I'm doing it. So it's been quite a while, maybe since last summer, since we've created a wrap bracelet. So this is what we're doing next week.
Althea says, perfect. Can't wait to try them. Thank you.
Oh, yay.
I think that's
Thank
the buttons.
you so much. The buttons, yes. Yeah, we'll have a lot of really sweet buttons tomorrow. Okay, ladies. So that is all for tonight, I believe. So I hope you are excited about making donut brooches. And, you know, I always feel like there's something else. You know, I'm trying to count these, and what am I? Oh, I know what I'm missing. I'm missing the little baby one. That's it. Okay.
That was the first one you demoed on.
Yes, and then I moved it, and then I felt like, wait a minute, something else is supposed to be here.
Kathy K loves the wrap bracelet.
Oh, thank you so much, Kathy.
Lori says, this was lovely. Sorry, I lost the comment. This was a lovely live. I love the donuts.
Oh, yay. Thank you so much, Lori. They're so fun to make. Okay, guys. Well, this is it. I look forward to seeing you tomorrow morning. And in the meantime, thank you so much for watching. Thank you for your patience with all the little bumps in the road that we hit today. But, you know, it is a live video. So if we hit a bump, you know it. Anyway, I look forward to seeing you tomorrow. And have a wonderful and creative evening.